Hi, everyone. Bill Rensselaer in the 1011 Now Streaming Studio. Hope everyone is having a nice Monday. It is Monday, and that means we get to hang out with Josh Planos from the Better Business Bureau. Josh, happy St. Patrick's Day. I notice you're not wearing any green today.
Believe it or not, I was earlier. However, yes, I am definitely violating the rules of the holiday, and for that I apologize and hope that the viewers can someday forgive me.
We'll forgive you. We'll forgive you because we have a kind of a funner topic to maybe kind of think about today, and that's talking about spring break, which it's going to be 80 degrees this afternoon. We don't even have to go anywhere for spring break with this weather, but we'll be wanting to be on spring break on Wednesday when there's maybe a blizzard across the area. But folks are kind of maybe getting ready to take a trip here over the next couple of weeks, and we kind of have some tips and best practices for those folks.
Ain't that the case in Nebraska? Within 48 hours, you can go from being the premier spring break destination to a place you'd rather escape. That is the deal we have made as Nebraskans here. Yes, there are a lot of great opportunities for you and the family if you're looking to go out on a trip before the end of the year. I know a lot of folks are even planning even further ahead. They've got their summer break plans already in place. But if you are one of the few who are trying to find that last minute opportunity to go to Barbados, to the Caribbean, to anywhere for spring break, you want to make sure that you're following a few best practices to make that process as smooth as possible and to avoid a lot of, sadly, what's ultimately reported to us from folks who maybe were looking to cut a corner or two, or maybe looking to pay an unreasonable amount of money for an opportunity that didn't exist in the first place.
Yeah, spring break trips can kind of be a little spur of the moment sometimes, especially, getting cooped up, coming out of a long winter, and all of a sudden it's like, let's just go someplace warm. So what are those, top 2 or 3 things that folks really need to pay attention to if they're trying to get something and maybe trying to get something last minute?
Yeah, so there are a lot of travel agencies that have websites that maybe look a little dated, I would say, and some of them for good reason. They're not actual verified travel agencies. They're not verified websites that you would want to provide payment information, any information. So you want to make sure if you're through a travel agency that allegedly has a deal either with an airline or a rental property or hotel, that you're working through one that's deserving of your time and consideration. BBB.org has a lot of them. We have a lot of information on both accredited and non-accredited travel agencies. You can read reviews, you can read complaints. More importantly, you can read how that company responds to complaints if they get them. It's a really good place to begin your process if you are going to go the travel agent route. We do sadly see a lot of targeted social media marketing around this time of year. The scammers are well aware that people are trying to go to St. Padre, to the Florida coast, to any number of warm destinations around spring break. So they will lure travelers with the idea of an ultra cheap package that just comes to you on your Instagram timeline. And in a lot of cases, if that deal seems too good to be true, it almost certainly is. So you want to make sure that just because you found something on Instagram, it doesn't mean that it's not fraught with disaster around the corner. You want to make sure you're doing your research on the market rate for that trip to Jamaica or that trip to a sandals resort before you agree to pay for any amount of money, regardless of if it's less amount of money than you anticipated.
And, Josh, there's a number of things, folks need to watch out for when it comes to, watching out for scams and things like that. But, in terms of actually just planning that trip, there's a lot of useful tools nowadays. In terms of best practices, and one of them that my wife and I have used is using AI to kind of help you come up with a little bit of a travel itinerary.
Absolutely. AI is fantastic for ideation, right? So if you've got an idea for I know I want to go here, and I want kind of a general sense for what it would look like to go there. That's a really great query to plug into any chatbot. You can use AI for a number of positive reasons. I know it seems like a lot of the headlines involving AI and chatbots seem to revolve around kind of the negativity, but in a lot of cases, it'll pre-fill in a lot of that information for you. particularly if you're going to a place you don't have a lot of information on. So absolutely a place to start. Providing your budget is a really good useful benchmark for a lot of us. We want to go to a place, but we also want to make sure that we have money left over when we get there. And I think a lot of those airline tickets and the accommodations really have a habit of sadly sapping that budget. So you want to make sure you're being realistic about that pursuit and not just kind of experiencing tunnel vision throughout the process.
And you kind of brought it up, so I'm going to ask you here, when you're talking about travel, how are we feeling about travel insurance? That's one of the things, people are kind of like, oh, that's an extra however many amount of dollars, don't want to get it. But, spring weather in the United States, we saw a ton of severe weather over the weekend. We're going to be dealing with a blizzard on Wednesday. Weather can really wreak havoc. Travel insurance, may not get you anything, but it may save your bacon.
Like most insurance related issues, you want to make sure it's covering what it is you need it to cover. I can tell you, as someone who has nearly missed a cruise departing from Florida, that I really wish I had had that insurance. Now I did make it. To my credit, we did make it onto that cruise. However, Mother Nature has a real habit of getting in the way of a lot of travel. Maybe you've got a kid and that kid gets sick. Maybe you've got a family emergency. Maybe you've got something that came up at work. You want to make sure you at least have something to turn to if things don't go exactly according to plan. So travel, insurance can be really beneficial, provided that maybe you're more prone than others to needing to pivot on the fly. It's really good to have the ability to pivot, and that's what insurance does provide for many, particularly in the travel space. So again, it might not be perfect for every trip, but if you have a trip that really is going to break the bank, if it doesn't happen, you want to make sure you at least have a lever to pull in those cases to at least recoup some of those funds.
100%, absolutely. There's so many different avenues we could go down. Anything else that you add about spring break travel tips, anything like that, Josh?
Credit card. It's really important to pay with one. They do provide more protection than a lot of other payment methods. So what we have seen through what's been reported to us at Scam Tracker is that there are a lot of opportunities that are only available if you use a certain mode of payment. That is a red flag. If someone is saying that they are a reputable company or a person that is deserving of your attention and they're only accepting payment with a peer-to-peer payment method, a Cash App, a PayPal, a Venmo, a Zelle, if they're only accepting payment with cryptocurrency, if they're only accepting payment with prepaid debit cards or gift cards, all of that is a sign that this is not something to pursue any further. Really, this is something that does not provide you with any protection on that transaction, and that's something to be avoided because from a scammer's perspective, you could understand why that would be a requested form of payment. From a consumer's perspective, you would want to use the mode of payment that has the most amount of protection possible, which is a credit card. So if at all possible, please consider plastic. If you're making particularly those large transactions, you want to make sure that you have the ability to dispute those if things don't go exactly according to plan.
Yeah, no, it's it's one of those things too where if you're using that credit card, kind of like we talk about, almost every week, a lot of times you can get airline miles or stuff like that can make a spring break trip or a summer trip, something like that, a little bit easier to afford because you can pay for some of it or maybe even all of it with some of those airline miles.
One other tip I would recommend is that there are a lot of fake vacation rentals out there. So typically by the time you've settled on a location, you pay for the airline, you really start running out of that budget very quickly, right? And for a lot of folks, that means looking for a very cheap, discounted vacation rental opportunity. Maybe you find an Airbnb or a competitor on a different site. Scammers are really good at stealing photos of real listings, places you would want to go, places with things like exposed beams and a pool in the backyard. And that's really, really enticing for many of us. If you can save $250 a night versus staying at a hotel, that's a very easy decision that many of us would make. But if you are being directed to a website that isn't verified, an HTTP URL, for instance. You want to make sure that you are being very, very cautious, confirming with the property owner themselves that that place is available. Just because it's got a glossy photo and it looks like it's a steal does not mean it's going to be smooth sailing for you, right? You want to make sure you're working through real verified sites, real verified listings, and the line between that and a fake one is incredibly thin. So please do your due diligence, do your research, look into some of those terms and conditions on the website, even if for no other reason than just to underline that you feel as confident as possible that that transaction is going to go the way you anticipate.
Yeah, and it can be really difficult. Obviously, sometimes you're trying to book a place that's thousands of miles away, maybe in a different country. It's not like you can just go over to the other side of town and check it out with your own eyes. You're relying on that listing on the website, so it can be tough. And always good to know when you can cancel. I've had to cancel, a vacation, a trip, and you lose that deposit sometimes. But usually there's that cancellation date, and good to know when that is.
Yeah, it turns out not everything is refundable, right? So you want to know that even if unexpected issues arise, that you know exactly what is and isn't going to be available to return to your account. Whether it's booking a flight, whether it's booking a hotel, an excursion when you get there, you want to know exactly what it is that. And a good way to do that right is the best system is one you'll follow. So if you have a piece of paper and you write down, I need to know this by this date. If you have a spreadsheet, same exact setup. You want to know when it is that you need to cancel by in order to reclaim those funds, because there's a lot of heartache, sadly, that exists over spring break and any travel-related season, because people sadly wait a little too long in order to make that cancellation.
Yeah, I was supposed to be, let's see, it's the 17th. I was supposed to be in Belize on a beach right now, Josh. And not that I don't enjoy sitting here talking with you, but our vacation plans fell through. But we got all of our money back, so that's good.
Well, and Belize is waiting for you now, and you can make that trip happen as a result of being smart about your transaction. I am sorry that you have to spend the day with me, but Belize will be there tomorrow, I think.
Belize will be there next year. So, but Josh, appreciate all the good information as always. Again, you always have good tips, best practices, things to watch out for. Any last pieces of advice for those of us who maybe want to hit the road?
Yeah, there was a time where travel alerts, fraud protection was pretty common with things like credit cards, and it seemed like a lot of that information kind of went digital and wasn't necessarily needed. I can assure you that your bank is thrilled to know if you can provide them with an update on where it is that you're going, travel dates to avoid things like card blocks. It'll help the bank identify things like fraud alerts a lot more readily. So there's still very much that functionality that is useful, particularly if you're traveling overseas. The last thing you want to do if you're traveling internationally is to need to get a hold of your bank with all of the logistical hurdles that exist in that way. So you want to make sure you're doing a little bit of legwork on the front end, because it'll keep things as smooth as possible when you get there.
Awesome. Josh, appreciate, again, all the information as always. Again, I hope you enjoy the warm weather that we have today, and I hope you bundle up and stay warm on Wednesday when it's going to be snowing and blowing 60 miles an hour.
Nebraska. It just it is such a way of humbling you. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much. Again, that's Josh Planos with the Better Business Bureau. We always appreciate his time. So appreciate everyone for tuning in and watching. And hope you learned a little bit of something, or maybe just got yourself a reminder about something, upcoming trip, whatever it might be. So appreciate everyone for tuning in and watching. As always, keep it tuned to 1011, both on air and online, for all of your latest. And hope everyone stays warm. Hope everyone enjoys a nice Monday.
1011 News is everywhere. Download our smart TV